We're gonna start off with one particular topic. The girls will know about this because I talked with them whilst at the time Wynn was having redecorations done, which you'll just keep it as that. But Kaiju and Raiden don't know about this.
Have you been keeping secrets from me, MJ?
Oh no!
Look, dude.
I thought we were friends, man.
Dude, I was going to tell you I was Batman at some other stage, but, I have to get all the gadgets and get the Batcave redecorated and get the Batjamas and, Nice for keeping that one a secret, man. Come on.
How can you do this, man?
I'm Inspector Gadget.
I'll tell you why. Because I'm Batman.
Like, why does it have to be you? Because no one else can do it.
Right. Just to get back on... No, Steven, I will not swear to his. Like, oh god. Now I'm gonna see somebody's like, oh yes, Photoshop MJ is better. Going, swear to me. I'm like, gosh dang it.
Wait a minute. Does that mean because I have the cat, I'm Catwoman?
Oh god. Oh, dibs on Robin. Dibs on Robin.
Well, Wynn, that would make it the perfect evening.
Oh god, the return of the puns, people.
Oh god, no.
No, because I'm.
But you gotta admit, if I were Catwoman, I would be the cat's meow.
Hey, let's take a pause for the cause.
Oh. Let's not put people in the corner.
You know what?
Is Nightwing?
It's funny because I figured I'd be Killer Kaiju.
Ooh,
Nice.
I like that.
I threw a rock at him. It was a big rock.
Dude, I want to be the Riddler. Are we calling out dibs on Riddler?
All right,
the Liddler.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
I like that.
Riddle me this, Batman.
All right. Let's get back on topic before
Sean Retro says MJ is Pun Man.
How can you tell?
Wouldn't that be more towards Kaiju because he was the one making all the fish puns in season 1?
That is very true.
Anyway.
Damn it. Sorry if you hear random cursing in the background. Usual cat shenanigans. He's trying to eat my arm again.
I guess that answers Stephen Walker's Steven's question. How is Navi, by the way?
He's fine, but ow! He's still as cannibalistic as last time.
Mm-hmm.
And not even MJ's scolding helped.
Like I say, the girls know about this particular topic that's going to get brought up, but Raiden and you, Kaiju, you may not know about this. I came across this video about 2 to 3 weeks ago. This is from, I think, March of 2016, from a YouTube channel known as Titanic Truths. And, well, how to put this? It's probably best you watch the video first, just to see where the person is coming across with, and then be able to, make some kind of... Oh, I've just gone off from... There we go. That's better.
Okay.
Right. If I get it set to 00, we'll all watching at the same time. This is one of those few occasions where we don't need to have the headset on because it's not really copyrighted material. I mean, I will credit the guy when I go to do the individual skits later, but is everyone at 00?
Yep.
Yep.
Alrighty. Hang on. Is Lids at 0?
Where are you sending the link though? Because I don't have it.
All right.
I guess I'll send it through Facebook.
Okay.
Oh, please.
Let's see, there you go.
It's a C. Okay, cool. Because it's connected to my headphones. Let's do this.
All right.
Okay. gnarly and whore. That's right. That's what I said. Did we? There we go.
All right. Let us know when you're good.
Can't you just go automatically to Google to YouTube, please? Thank you. Sometimes I hate this phone. Okay, I am at the ready.
All right. All right. That's everyone at 00 in 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, this thing. Oh no.
Racing the Titanic. I wonder what that implies.
Oh, you are gonna be surprised.
People have pushed for raising the Titanic since she sank in 1912. Many have tried, none have come close. Titanic Truths, however, has gotten perhaps farther in that quest than any company in history. We have spent years developing a detailed method that we believe will get the job done right.
Why is it being narrated by
Our plan
12-year-olds?
involves lowering a steel truss frame similar to a highway bridge. As
I
we
know not.
Titanic is as wide as a 4-lane
This kid
highway,
sounds like he hasn't
so
hit
why not
puberty yet.
adapt current technology to work for us? Before the truss is lowered, however, the bow will
Sounds
be
like a
dug
book
out
report.
to an extent
It does.
enough to allow us to work properly. Footings will be lowered to give the truss a secure mounting structure.
Someone even said in the comments section
From
that it
there,
sounds like a
slowly,
12-year-old talking.
Small tunnels will be
Thank
dug
you.
under the
Glad I'm
hull
not wrong.
to allow specially designed straps to pass under the keel. Triton 36,003 subs will be used to monitor everything at the bottom. The subs are designed to dive to the deepest parts of the ocean and still give the crew a full 360-degree view of their surroundings.
Oh, this could only end.
Once everything is in place, the Hirama dual crane is what we're looking at to do the lift. The wreck and all equipment will have enough lift material to reduce its weight from an approximate 45,000 ton to just 10 to 15,000 ton. The crane has dual arms, each capable of lifting approximately 20,000 tons from 10,000 feet. Extra straps will be used to bridge that gap.
Oh, because they assume
Titanic
that
will
this is what's
essentially
going to
lift
happen.
herself with only the guide.
I
of the
can't help but
involved.
feel this might be
Once at the
disrespectful to everybody who died on that ship.
Yeah,
The Blue
yeah.
Marlin
I'm gonna
transport
talk about
ship
that after the
will be
video's
used
done.
to hold the wreck for
Okay.
I think
transport to
there's
land.
even a
where,
comment
once
on here
home,
that says, "Leave the
she
wreck
will be
alone. It's a great
placed
site."
in a dry dock type
Yeah, it's
tank
like-
where she'll be resunk in a chemically
Kind of like an
balanced
Indian burial
solution
ground.
that will
It's
stop
become an
decay
underwater
and promote
tomb.
preservation.
Yeah,
We
the
must
ground
act
is sour.
fast
In
if we
case
want to
this
do
case,
this
the
before
water
it
is
is too
sour.
late. Titanic Truths has sent the first round of letters to the government to attempt talks
This
over
is
this
bad.
matter. It is only a matter of time till we know more.
So I'm guessing this guy is in charge of Titanic
This is still a
Truths?
very controversial topic.
Guess
Many
it
could be
are
his
on
son.
both sides of for and against. But in the end, if we do not act,
Hey, for all
those
we
who
know,
are
this could be a
against it
woman.
will have nothing to fight for. And those who have been working hard to preserve what we do have now
Yeah,
will
because
have
I've actually
nothing
heard
left to
women and
preserve
like
and will have wasted
women who sound
millions,
like
if
this
not
person, who
billions
sound
of
like
Yeah.
dollars in the
Okay.
process.
It could be a woman.
Whatever your views on this matter, it comes down to simply this. Do we allow the most famous
But
shipwreck
at the same
in
time, the
history
speech pattern and
to
mannerism
disappear,
could be up
never
to
to be
debate.
seen or known
Ah,
for
that's
the
true,
truth
yeah.
again? Giving way to
Because
new
normally an adult, when they're
fictionalized
reading about a passion, they
films that
often put a bit more
don't
enthusiasm into it.
show what truly
But that's just me
happened to these
nitpicking as a
people
voice actress.
105
Mm.
years
Yeah,
ago?
that's true. Yeah.
Or do we get past our superstitious goddess folklore.
Okay, I can see a little awkward pause there.
And work
Yeah,
to
there we go. I
save
noticed that too.
this ship and perhaps many more down the road.
This guy does sound like a lot like me
Titanic
when I first started out making
needs
YouTube
your
videos
support to get this job
with that like
done.
lack of experience.
Yeah.
Let people
Oh,
know
that guy sounds like me right now.
we want to see this ship
No,
and
my
others
videos aren't exactly the best
saved
quality.
before they
I've
are
had reaction
gone.
videos and pretty much talking about trailers. That's it. That's all I
Like
got.
us on
I
Facebook,
haven't made
subscribe
any
on
videos. I'm very
YouTube,
prone to
hit
brain
that
fart,
like
so
button,
there's
leave a
a
comment
lot
below.
of chances of awkward pauses.
Sounds like me when I do.
Share this video
Sounds like me
everywhere
when I deliver a book
with all your
report.
Titanic and shit
Yeah,
that's
this-
out there in
you're
the
right. This
world.
whole thing does sound like a
We
kid
must come
awkwardly
together
giving a book
and
report in
save
front of the kids,
history.
in front of his entire
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
I can commend him for trying like to start some big project for the sake of science and preservation of a historical piece of history. Oh, that sounds redundant as hell. I commend him for trying to do something ambitious for the sake of preserving history,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I feel it feels a bit unnecessary. Like he wants to preserve it, and I can see where he's going with where like the Titanic may eventually like deteriorate further over time, but I feel like trying to move the Titanic will only damage it, and after like rusting for so long.
I think what MJ said is that it's probably just gonna come out of the water and turn to dust.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. It's gonna snap in like it's already the thing already snapped in half, so like doing it's gonna like snap it in quarters and eighths afterwards.
Damn.
Let's not count.
Kind
the
of like a
whole-
Metroid.
Yeah, and let's
Mhm.
not count the fact that this is ghosty as hell. There's gonna be a lot of fucking angry
Yeah.
ghosts. Ugh.
Yeah.
Imagine the I was gonna say, imagine the irony from if they were to actually raise the Titanic and then actually deliver it to New York, and so that way someone can quote that line from Ghostbusters 2: "Better late than never."
Damn it, you beat me to it.
Oh god, yes.
Here's where I stand on this. This is where I like to use the quote in the middle of the fence with this. Pretty much echoing what Kaiju just said. I get where he's coming from the perspective of preserving what's left and maybe learn more that we possibly don't know of what happened to that ship on that fateful night 106 years ago this April. But this is where I have to be that guy at the gravesite. That's kind of code for you don't do this. Or to quote Chris Rock in that comedy video he did years ago of how to not get your ass kicked by the police. Like, you've heard people say, I wouldn't do that shit if I were you, or hear some of that shit. It's just, it's one of those unwritten rules. You don't go disturbing a gravesite. You don't disturb an Indian burial ground. You don't dig up someone's grave unless there's for a specific purpose, like you think that they could find something scientifically interesting, like in the scene from Arachnophobia where they dig up to see if the people died from spider bites. But we are talking about the wreck of, at the time, the longest ship in man-made history at the time in 1912, where she's already split in two pieces, and the chances of her being able to be preserved once she's hit the surface, there's a good chance the oxygen would make it disintegrate because of the fact it's been 12,000 feet down for a full century and then some.
And it's been under so
I think it's one of those things where leave it be.
yeah.
Again, like to echo what Kaiju just said, it sounds ambitious. There's definitely good intentions with what they're suggesting, but again, I have to be on the sort of moral compass of leave it alone, because there's going down there and doing what Robert Ballard did some 33 years ago when they first discovered her in 1985 to taking pictures and doing movie footage for James Cameron's movie, which turned 20 last December, if you can believe.
Damn.
And then there's taking things out of the ship where I'm like, no, not cool. Again, understand the altruistic intention, but no, just no.
Mm-hmm. And if this guy is just a kid, like a 12-year-old kid, then I guess it would make sense to have this like naive sensibility that, oh, let's raise the Titanic. Surely there's nothing wrong with that. And, if he's a kid, he probably hasn't really thought this out completely. And, it's just kind of like that innocent, like very ambitious mentality going into it.
Optimism.
Yeah,
Must be a
exactly.
passion project.
Yeah, this like innocent sense of optimism that says, "Oh, let's do this because it seems like a good idea." And I'm 12, so I don't have the experience to realize the ethical boundaries that this could cross over.
Yeah.
Must be a passion project.
Yeah, it must be.
The intention sounds good, but at the same time, it's an underwater tomb. Plus, if it were pulled up, if you think about it, the way it's been underwater for so many years, once it's exposed to oxygen, the corrosion is going to eventually lead to decomposition.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to turn to dust altogether, just coming out of the water.
Which kind of makes the scene from really badly aged from the 1980 movie Raise the Titanic, because it was believed in the story that there was this precious rare ore that was stored in the cargo of the ship. Now, keep in perspective, in 1980, everyone believed that she went down in one piece, and the idea was they would go down and raise her to the surface and finally pull her into New York and be able to dig this ore out of its cargo hold. And then, of course, 1985 happened, found out, oh, she's in two separate pieces. And the movie people are like, wow, don't we look stupid now? I mean,
yeah.
It's been a sort of a, I don't know if romanticized fantasy of the idea of raising her to the surface just so that a new generation could see her, but it's just exactly that. It's just a fantasy, a dream where we know better now. And also, here's an interesting thing. There's a documentary that's around on YTub somewhere called Drain the Titanic. They actually firmly believe now that she may not have split on the surface because it's 12,000 feet down from where she sank off the coast of Newfoundland. If she had split on the surface like they're suggesting that she did, the debris field where she's sitting would be twice the size of what it currently is, and the two halves would be 4 to 5 miles apart as opposed to 1.5 miles apart, which when you look at it from an Occam's razor situation, you think that does actually make sense.
Hmm.
And
hey, for all we know, this kid watched that Titanic movie way too much. I'm talking about the one with Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's like, I'm gonna find that jewel in the ocean. Like, did you know?
oh, funny thing, I actually did because I've been watching a few documentaries recently. I think there was this 10 facts that people didn't know about the Titanic. The jewel is actually based on a real story from the ship as well.
Oh, really?
That wasn't purposely put in, just for the fictional part of the story with Kate Winslet, Billy Zane, and Leonardo DiCaprio. That was actually referencing a real story.
Oh,
Huh, I didn't know that.
That's interesting.
And this is where I think they may have borrowed elements from the real story. because the lady who had the blue diamond, very similar to what Kate Winslet wore, it's believed that they conceived a child whilst they were on the ship, and the father sadly went down with the ship, and the girl ended up giving birth to a baby girl once they were in New York months later, and the granddaughter credits the fact that her family line was actually conceived on that ship. And I thought, okay, that's my mind blown for the evening. Because like Lydia, I thought that was originally just something they cooked up for the movie. It was like, nope, that was a real thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, geez, okay, that's interesting.
And here's the thing. It is hard to think that it has been 20 years since that movie came out. The only things I've noticed, particularly in the last year or so, because I made the point of watching the movie again for the first time in years, the scene where Kate and Leo do their King of the World segment in the evening, you can tell the chroma keying piece where they're flying over the water, that has not aged very well. As I've said on a few previous episodes of Sunday Night Live, when you've been watching movies for as long as I have over the years, you start to get a trained eye for these nuances and what looks CG and what looks practical. And as good as that movie is, especially for the acting and the actors they got for the performances, the visual effects have not aged very well.
Yeah, but it could be worse. It could be certain Italian animated films which we are not allowed to speak of.
Oh God, no.
Let's not and say we did, especially the fact that a dog was doing a rap, and I'm like,
Oh
that
God,
didn't come
no.
about to the 1960s. What is this doing on a ship in 1912?
You gotta admit, it did contribute one good thing. It gave us some really hilarious YouTube poops.
Yes, it did.
Yep. And a great John review.
Oh, I love that review. What are you
Well,
Time! It's party time!
You know what? If you want to see something even more offensive than that, I looking at this and thinking, oh, okay, this might be crossing a few boundaries here. And then Dan Williams made the comment on the live comment of the animated movie, and I thought, oh yeah, there was another thing that may be crossing a line, and that was someone made a bootleg Transformer out of the Titanic.
What?
Oh God.
I'm gonna send the image right now. I remember I saw. There you go. Feast your eyes, everybody.
Oh God,
Sounds
no.
Sweet Lord.
I'll send it to
Oh,
Lydia
God.
right now.
Oh, that shit is ugly.
Oh, send it to me now. This I gotta see.
There you go.
This is so bootleg.
Yeah,
Folks,
this is a bootleg.
I got
yeah.
nothing.
What the hell?
It's tight. Watch out, Optimus Prime. Here comes Titanic Bot.
Why would someone do this?
I don't know. It looks like one of those. It looks like one of those cheap toys you can get out of one of those little tourist trap places.
Oh yeah, and I sent another image.
Make this because fuck you. That's why.
Oh God.
because some
Sorry.
because some people simply want to watch the world burn.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Michael Caine.
Yeah, that baby turns 10 this year.
Oh,
Holy
God.
shit, you're right.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Abby does not approve.
As he nonchalantly chomps on his back foot while threatening to step on one of my keyboard keys. Which,
Abby?
of course, I had to replace with my speakers because those were also casualties to little tiny cat teeth. Only difference is the keyboard has a little braided bungee wire, so at least the chewing can't deal as much. The speakers, however, still have the same typical standard wire. Only because I don't know if wireless USB speakers are a thing.
Dan's
I think they
asking,
are.
so what would that Titanic transformer be? An Autobot or a Decepticon? It's like,
Ooh.
probably just don't acknowledge that, because that's kind of disrespectful.
Well, clearly, if you look at the packaging, he's not even technically a transformer. He's a transformable.
And at the same time, it's more that awkward situation, like picking your kickball team. He's that one kid that nobody wants to pick.
Exactly.
And
When it comes to transforming boats, I think I'll stick to Tidal Wave. Thank you.
also, whilst we're still on the subject of Titanic, the less we say about that sci-fi quote sequel from 2010, the better.
Yeah. What was the name of that movie?
Titanic 2.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Huh?
Oh no! Oh,
This is news to me.
I had the displeasure of actually watching that.
No.
And Bruce Davison of X-Men 1 and 2 fame. I'm like, Bruce, what are you doing here?
Oh my god.
Like, what money did the Sci-Fi Channel give you? The little amount they probably be able to give you anyway, but that's besides the point. All right. The synopsis
I think the same amount
is...
of money they gave Tara Reid.
The synopsis for the movie is simple. It's
Sharknado?
Yeah, it was the same people who did Sharknado, to my understanding.
Oh, yeah. This is the Asylum.
Movies.
Why am I not surprised?
Well, because they're cheap, super cheap movies that like cost $10 in a ham sandwich, so the costs are easy to get back to make up.
It's funny.
Sunday School Musical.
It's funny. It's funny.
Yeah, that shit was horrible.
It's funny you mentioned how cheap it looks. There's a scene with Bruce and this Arctic scientist of where this glacier had disappeared. The chroma keying is so bad that a YouTuber could do better.
Ooh.
To answer Raiden's question, the synopsis is really, really simple. It's set around the 100th anniversary of the original Titanic sinking, and the idea is the Titanic 2, which I think the Queen Mary doubled up as the ship, would sail from Florida to Southampton to say, finally, it would cross the Atlantic. Small little problem. I think it was more or less about the middle of the North Atlantic where a tsunami was coming with an iceberg and it hit the other side of the ship, but small problem. They hadn't really done too much safety precautions that the last one had. The bulkheads only went up to a certain deck level beneath the decks with the ship, and it was sinking. The only difference is this time they actually had enough lifeboats for everyone. That's about the only thing they did better this time round, but history repeated itself. It sank, and I think the person that directed it was also the same guy who wrote and starred in the lead male role. But I remember, I think somebody had put the whole thing up on YouTube, and I'm like, why does this exist? It's like, this doesn't need to be here.
I don't know. By sounds of things, I would rather watch Ghost Ship again.
Yeah, that opening. That goddamn opening.
What was that? Was that the one with Gabriel Byrne? Was that the one with Gabriel Byrne?
I think so. I just remember they're all in the inside of this really, really old, rusty ship, and this major mind trip goes on.
Yeah, and
you kind of, and you kind of see bits and pieces of the past lives of those who were on the ship before all hell broke loose.
Oh god. I saw a review of that. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I don't know.
Also, it looks like some people want to see the Titanic bot, so I can't post a link. So I guess MJ, if you don't mind.
Did. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh.
Yeah, I posted it just by where Dan.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I already posted that.
Okay, sorry about that.
Cat, I swear to the Allspark, you better not bite me.
Navi,
Ow!
There it is.
Navi, you don't start behaving. I will have to go on Skype at some point and sing Wham's Everything She Wants at top C completely out of tune.
Uh-oh.
He seems
Oh,
to
no.
be unfazed.
Well,
But
say that I can warn him.
yeah, if worse comes to worse, also, while these redecorations start back up soon, been debating on probably getting a door to separate my kitchen and the rest of my apartment. If so, I'll just have to have him chill in the bedroom, and he can't meow his opinions until he starts being a good kitty.
Yeah.
Put him in timeout. That's a good idea.
Mind
I
you,
could just put him in the bathroom, but the last time I did that, I opened the door, he murdered an entire roll of TP. He managed to get onto the top shelf next to my sink, and it looked like it was papery snow in my bathroom.
Oh my
there's an
God.
obvious Cornholio reference I could make here, but I'm just going to walk away from that.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Or you probably would have heard a damn it, MJ.
Although there was there is a billionaire in Australia that did actually try to construct a Titanic 2, but without going into too many things, because one of my New Year's resolutions is to stay away from as many things political as possible, because it just gets messy, lest we forget the US election in 2016. The guy was trying to build a replica of the ship, but it would have been longer and taller, and apparently he was doing some things to support a political agenda that not too many people thought too highly of, and probably for the best, because while I would have been intrigued to actually see another form of Titanic setting sail in the sea, I think it's one of those things, hindsight, probably not the best thing, because it would have been reminders to what happened with the original, and granted it's been 100 years, it's still the worst maritime disaster, particularly in the last century, and also because there has not been a disaster like of that magnitude since, because people have learned so many important lessons, like as mentioned, when they did the quote sequel movie, they actually had lifeboats that could actually house everyone. It's just one of those things, like, maybe there's a reason why we shouldn't build another one, because it's just one of those things, like, just leave it alone.
I think any vessel nicknamed the Titanic is pretty much cursed.
And there's this other conspiracy that it wasn't actually the Titanic that actually sank. It was her sister ship, the Olympic, that actually run into some problems, and they actually switched it without, where people wouldn't be the wiser. But it's purely a rumor that's gone around for decades, so I don't know how much truth there is to it, considering if the Olympic was still around, chances are it probably would have been sent to the scrapyard at some stage.
It sounds like a typical conspiracy theory.
Yeah. And again, like I say, there's really no need to go do that. I mean, it's pleasant to go and make models or make digital reconstructions of the ship and have that kind of homage and respect and appreciation for what she was. But again, to some it might be seen in poor taste to actually make a replica. Some things are just best left alone.